Okay, cool. So, hello and welcome to another Professional Jeweller Talks. My name is Rob Corder. I'm sitting in for Stacey Hales, who's actually on maternity at the moment, but I was the co-founder of Professional Jeweller almost 10 years ago, and I'm the editor of the sister publication Watch Pro, so kept my eye on the market. And today I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by an old friend, not so old friend, Judith Lockwood, who's currently the managing director of her own distribution business, Mesmeric Distribution, which is primarily the distributor for Ti Sento Milano, that we'll speak about a lot today. But you also used to be a card-carrying Ti Sento employee in the UK as well, so plenty of experience with that brand. And I think we'll probably start, Judith, it's okay with you. The jewellery industry loves storytelling, and maybe just give me a quick potted history, a quick story of Ti Sento.
Hi, Rob. Sorry, how long did you say this interview was going to be?
Well, I was going to speak for most of it, and then occasionally let you in.
Okay, well, going back about 100 years ago, I cut my teeth working for Severin Mont, who used to be the Gucci timepiece distributor back in the day. And from Gucci, I went to work for Cartier. And actually, I was at Cartier for around 8 years, working in wholesale, selling everything really apart from fragrance and jewellery. So it was all the watches. I used to go out to Geneva every year to SIHH. So, I really am a watch buff, if you like. Watches really are my, dare I say, my first love, and particularly movements. I love a good tourbillon movement. I used to love selling Pasha repetition minute repeater cathedral chime watches, and in fact I still wear my Pasha watch today that they gave me when I left a number of years ago. So
that's their big new launch this year, is a new Pasha collection.
It is. I was reading their press release just last night with their group of Pasha people. From Cartier, I did escape from the industry for a number of years, and I went to follow another passion, which was motorcycles. I went to work for Honda UK, and at that time, which didn't seem terribly relevant, I was the only female with 14 men. And I think the first day I arrived, they thought, who on earth's this? What the hell's she doing here? But at the time, I think I was the only one that could build a cylinder head and shim it up. Because my first husband and I sound like Elizabeth Taylor, we ran a race team, so I knew quite a lot of the Honda people. So I was at Honda for a few years. I then came back to work with Hearts on Fire, and I brought Hearts on Fire to the UK market, built 65 doors and a 10 million US dollar turnover business, which wasn't bad in those days. I then ended up taking a phone call from a certain customer who was based up in Ulverston called Ken Lindo, who said to me, stop whatever it is you're doing. He said, I need you to talk to somebody. I said, I have a job, Ken. I'm doing something I really like. Anyhow, he introduced me to the owners of IBB Amsterdam at that time, who actually owned and ran the Ti Sento brand. So again, I was there for seven years, something like that. We won a number of awards during that time. It was a fantastic period to work for any brand, any business. And then one of the hardest decisions I ever had was to leave to actually go and form my own company. And I built a business along with Gary Rowe at that time from Hockley Mint. And we did something very exciting, and we brought a diamond over from Canada. We took a press trip out to Tanzania to visit what was going to be one of the first fair trade gold mines. That was just an incredible experience, and I think it's something I referenced recently in something that's going to go to print in one of the forthcoming magazines about what was one of my most memorable things that come to mind when I think about this industry. So that was an incredible experience to be involved in. And sometimes we end up in the wilderness, if you've been in an industry as long as all of us have, from time to time, you end up going off to do a variety of different things. And I remember I was walking my dog one summer, and a pal of mine phoned me up and he says, I keep seeing you wandering around walking your dog. What are you doing? I said, I'm waiting for my next big adventure, big idea. And I ended up going to help a pal of mine in the gift industry in North Yorkshire. who sold bookmarks, would you believe? It was a £20 million turnover business, and he sold bookmarks all over the world. So I did that for a while. I also cycled London to Paris just for fun. And I then ended up, somebody said to me, look, you know, you seem to talk for England. So I know this is an interview, but it's meant to be a two-way street. Why don't you get paid for giving advice? And it kind of sat a bit uncomfortably with me, because I never really sort of thought I perhaps had enough to say of anything of any substance, but apparently enough people thought I did. So for a while I became a really bad consultant. I'm very good at talking about other people and other business, but I don't think I was very good at advertising myself, and most of it was on non-disclosure, so you couldn't even tell the next client who you'd worked for or what business you'd worked for. But that again was quite interesting, some of the businesses you were allowed in to see and some of the things that you become involved in. And you know, I also discovered that you generally get paid whether they take the advice or not, which is a bit of a shame sometimes if they don't, if you really have worked very hard at that and feel that you've understood what they need. And I then took a phone call one day from an old pal of mine, Orion van Zuelen, who I worked for at Ti Sento at IBB Amsterdam. And he said to me, he said, I think you're consulting with one of our clients in Holland. And I said, yes. I said, that's right, I am. He said, right. He said, next time you come over, he said, let's take a coffee. So I thought, right, got on the old internet, booked a flight from Leeds Bradford Airport, flew out to Holland, not having any idea what he was going to say. And he explained to me that Ti Sento Milano was now no longer part of IBB Amsterdam. Something quite amazing had happened there, whereas many of the people who had run parts of the business within that company ended up being in a position to take over parts of the business for themselves. So Orion, along with a highly unpronounceable Dutch, very old trust fund family, not a venture capitalist, a Dutch trust fund family, they are now the co-owners of Ti Sento Milano.
Are you going to attempt the Dutch name for us?
No, I'm not, because I'm probably going to get told off for swearing, but there's lots of W's and it rhymes with very bad words.
All right, okay.
I'll maybe write it down for you later, Rob.
All right.
But he said, look, he said, our business model is changing, and he said, we would like you to be our distributor. So I came back, spoke with the accountant, bought a big calculator, we did the sums. And after, you know, some toing and froing, because you always have that thing, you know, should I go back? Do I go back? But actually, I think they would be the first to say that I left in very good circumstances and on very good terms. In fact, the day I left, it was really nice. They gave me lots of gifts. And actually, I gave Julian and Tamara, the owners of the company at that time, a very beautiful clock. And I bought this clock to really represent the most incredible time that I'd had in my life, working with them and the family of Ti Sento at that time. So I think, and I hope that that kind of speaks some volumes. And, you know, I believe in Orion. I believe in him and his vision, and Lillian, who's his wife, who's designed the product right since the start. And I'm very happy to be back. It was a good decision.
And when you talk about being a distributor, is that in the traditional sense of the word, i.e. you're buying stock and you're, you know, putting that level of investment in, or is it more of a, you know, these days sales agents who don't have to don't have to worry about the logistics and the cost of stock so much is more the norm?
That's a great question, and the truthful answer is I don't have to carry any stock, but actually none of the distributors that work for Ti Sento do. Again, I think what Ti Sento, or certainly Orion, realised for the brand was that could end up being fairly destructive. It actually limited any of the customers, both the clients and the retail customers, in terms of product that they could buy, because as soon as the distributor was out of stock or their stock was out of kilter, then that retailer couldn't buy it, and they also then perhaps couldn't get it for their client. So Ti Sento operates a brilliant drop shipment business for all the distributors around the world. And that seems to work much better. It means that they're ultimately in control of the stock and also get the best feedback that they can get currently that's available in terms of what's selling through. And then, you know, in terms of reordering.
Does that drop shipment go as far as the retailer, or does it just go as far as you as the
It goes to the retailer. It goes to the retailer.
Okay, great. So
yeah.
So nobody has to particularly overinvest in stock. It's a much more efficient model than that.
It's a very efficient model, I would say. You know, we don't write the biggest orders in the business. We write the right orders for the customers. That's the most important thing. And I keep using a phrase. I sometimes call myself and the team the sales prevention officers, because we want people to buy the right stock at the right time. And I think it's very easy when you have new collections. Everybody gets terribly excited, which is how it should be. But actually, we keep reminding everybody that 80% of the business comes from the core product. That 20% is the newness. Yeah. That newness could well become new core product moving forward. It could well do. But actually, it's about the core product. So we do try to manage with our retail customers as best we can the buying that they do.
And how has Ti Sento as a brand changed? Not only with the sort of change of ownership, but how has the how would you say its perception, or its customers' perception, has changed over the last 10 years or so?
Do you know, I think about this a lot. If I use Jewellery and Watch Spring Fair as an example, if I may, I decided that we were going there in February earlier this year, and a few of my industry colleagues who I love and respect thought I was absolutely crazy. And I don't really mind being thought that anyone's crazy. You know, it was at my risk and an investment. And we built a purpose-built stand, which is currently in storage. I think it was one of the largest stands that were there. You could say that wasn't difficult. But then I believed in what Hive were doing, and Kirsty Brewer, actually, from Jewellery and Watch, the fact that they'd moved it from the traditional jewellery hall. It was in a new hall that was alive. It had a vibe. Okay, there was some guy selling Norwegian socks about 10 metres in the other direction, but if you didn't turn that way, you didn't see. I thought we looked pretty damn good. And the interesting thing was, we saw existing customers. People came for a nosy, which is interesting. And we also saw new customers. And we had people that came by that said, oh, God, yeah, I remember you. You were the brand that used to be at Jewellery and Watch or Spring Fair or IJL back in the day, with the 26-metre booth that we used to bring, that we used at Basel. And I said, yes. And they said, oh, we thought you were fantastic. And I would say to them, but you've never been a customer. Ah, no, we didn't think that you were for us. Well, if we could, we would then wrestle them to the ground, get them sat with a coffee, because, you know, we had a little bit of hospitality on the stand, because I was intrigued to know why. And I think once we actually sat down with retailers, and I don't think it's about past and present, I think it's just about perception, people suddenly discovered that we had a wide variety of price points. You know, we do have an article that sells at £25. Do we sell it? No, but we have it. We probably start around £39, £49. That would really be our sweet spot that we start from. They thought we were more expensive. Actually, our price points have been from £25 through to around about £800, but we've had a sweet spot between £350 and £400. You know, we've gone from the 49, sorry, to £400, Rob. Yeah. And when we actually sat down and we showed people the quality of the product, the clasps, the locks, the fasteners, the detail that we have, the finish, if we gave them a loop and they actually looked at a piece that, and there's always a few key pieces each season that we go to. We had this season a pendant. It looked like a piece of coral. And in my mind, that was a setter's nightmare. None of the edges were straight. They were all curved. And we would give it to a customer to have a look and say, just take a little look at this. That is a setter's nightmare. Every single claw is placed by hand. Every single CZ stone in that piece is set by hand. It's neat, it's even, it's smooth. And people were just absolutely blown away. When we told the story, they looked at the quality of the product, some of the incredible things that the brand can do in terms of aftercare. You know, I spoke with a customer this morning from Chester, and they had a client who had lost an earring. And this earring is a discontinued piece. and this client loves these earrings. These earrings cost back in the day £69. If that had been a top from Marks and Spencer's or Zara, it would have long since been in the bin, used as a duster or down the charity shop. And we're able to help both the retailer and their client, because on our B2B system where our repairs are, and that's a funny thing to talk about, but it's really important to have backup and support for your customers, we have a magical button called emotional value. And when you hit that button, it means that we're able to have that item, that one earring, or those half a dozen pieces of beads, or that necklace or that pendant that somebody was given by their grandfather and she wore on her wedding day and the grandfather has since passed, or it was given by their daughter on when the daughter was 18 as a thank you for something that was really special, or whatever the significance is, we're actually able to remake that piece in the factory. Okay. I don't know of any other fashion brand that's able to do that. Perhaps some of the fine jewellery companies are able to replicate and to do that, but to stop production and to make that earring for the customer in Chester, it constantly blows my mind. It does take 10 weeks, and there's a peppercorn charge, and it's then up to them what they charge the client or not.
Yeah, but it really says something about the sort of values and DNA of the brand, doesn't it?
It does, and it's these sorts of stories that we're able to relate to people that seem to have some misconception about what we are, what we were, what they think we are, and we all do this. We're all guilty of doing this. And if we have the opportunity just to sit and chat with somebody and share some of the stories about what we're able to do, and particularly now, this is my business. I treat this as my child. I am able to make a choice or make a decision, but still very much within the brand guidelines and the heart and the essence and the DNA of the company, then, we will do. And as a consequence of that, we were able to open people's eyes and convert people if they needed converting. We don't force anybody to buy. We want to work with people that want to work with us. And, we have 120 customers, and I would say of the 120, I think pretty much everyone absolutely loves this brand. We have no problem getting appointments. I talk to my colleagues out there who, we're in different times at the moment, Rob, as we both know. We have no problem getting appointments. People are emailing every day, when can you come and see us? When can you come and see us?
I was going to ask about that. I mean, the market, as I remember it, so dominated by Pandora at the time, and I guess still today to an extent, but or perhaps even more widely, talking about the watch world that I write about now, the power of the biggest brands just seems to be increasing, and the challenge for the difficulty of a challenger brands to get noticed and to get stockists just seems to be increasing by the day. But it sounds like you're finding a way to attract new customers and keep your current ones.
Last week we actually had 2 new customers, which is going to total 6 new doors.
Wow, fantastic! And
since
say who they are.
I'm not going to name them at the moment, if that's all right, but that's something that's happening. And the bizarre thing is, I think I'm the worst salesperson in the world. We've additionally had 3 other doors that have opened as well, or 3 other customers, I should say, that have opened. And I think respect is something that we really have to have at the moment. In the follow-up from Jewelry and Watch and subsequent meetings with CMJ and group meetings like that, we had a lot of people who wanted us to follow up, which we did. And then we had lockdown. And I made a very firm decision that when retailers went back to business, and because we'd sat on lots of Zoom calls with CMJ, for example, with the Growth Learning Network that they had held, we knew that the last thing that retailers needed was to be bombarded with calls from us, for example, and emails from us. They had enough on their plate dealing with everything that they needed to do in order to open their businesses. So I made a conscious effort and decision that we would not bombard any new customer or any existing customer. And a number of things happened. The customers that were prospects that we'd met at the shows and we'd had some communication with prior, most of those have actually come back to us, much to my delight and embarrassment. And when you say to them, look, you know, the reason we've not chased is because we didn't want to appear inappropriate or have the wrong tone of voice. Yeah. And they're like, no, we really appreciate this. You know, we want to start. When can you come and see us? Or can you come and see us? What are you going to do? And equally as much, all of those retailers that were reopening during lockdown, my business was open. My colleague Angela and I, we worked every single day. And one of the things we worked really hard at was with social media, with Instagram. And we saw lots of retailers just drop off a cliff. You know, they were shut, they were furloughed, nobody was doing anything, there was no activity. But equally as much, there were others that were there, and we followed and we communicated with. And I understand it's not always the owner, it would be somebody else within the business, but we built a relationship. We then followed on social media when our customers were reopening. Just because it said England was open or Wales was open or Scotland was open, and then the shopping centres in Scotland opened later, didn't always mean that the retailers had opened. So more or less 2 weeks after every single retailer had opened, and I was welcoming them back on Instagram and making little movies. We're in the movie business these days, Rob, which is why we're doing this. We were sending messages on Instagram, little videos, all sorts of things to welcome specific retailers back and the gangs in the business and what have you. But we made a card, and giving out all the secrets now, it's not rocket science. We sent a card, it was a hand addressed card with a stamp on, and we sent it out to all of our retailers, welcoming them back. And we also added in what I called a mesmeric menu, which reminded them of all the things that we can do, we will do, we want to do, we are able to do, and we should be doing. And the response to that was incredible, because again, a retailer will receive a lot of emails, they'll receive a lot of posts, and they don't get the chance to perhaps to see everything that they want to do. They're working on the shop floor, perhaps rather than being in the office as they were before. We understand it's a different way of working, shorter hours, perhaps shorter opening days of the week. You know, a lot of people are taking Mondays off, and you know, just because it works better for staffing at present. And the reaction we had was incredible. Who's not going to open a stamped addressed envelope? You're going to think it's a card or an invitation or something nice. And the response we had was really lovely. People actually bothered to email. And again, during that 2 weeks, it was remarkable how many retailers actually phoned us. They contacted us because they wanted to place an order. They were chasing a repair because we'd sat on everything to make sure things weren't flying around the country and flying around the world. So I'm afraid I'm the world's worst salesperson.
Doesn't sound like that to me. I think you know, if you just bring that personal attention, you're going to make plenty of sales, and I'm a huge believer in that as well. And I've seen that from my team throughout the lockdown. As long as people will continue to buy from people, and you've got to contact them somehow. But I think I probably agree that you've got to take things a little bit slowly, and you know, not be hammering down doors at a time like this. But I mean, you must be getting a sense now for how your customers, your retail customers, are recovering. What's your general sense of the mood out there since stores have been reopening?
I think it's probably better than most people are saying. I think I've always firmly believed that if you get half a dozen people together, whether it's suppliers or retailers, you'll have somebody who'll say, oh, it's really difficult, it's really tough, and it may well be for them for whatever reason. And within that group, you'll have a few people stood around that think, well, actually, I'm doing quite well, and you know, I think we're going to do all right. But there's a form of solidarity, so people will kind of go to that lowest form and say, well, yes, it is tough, it is a bit hard, and kind of sympathise. And then when that group parts and walks away, people say, God, if so-and-so's saying it's tough, it really must be tough. You know, I'm expecting better things from them. So I think people are being cautiously optimistic in saying what's going on out there. A lot of retailers that we're talking to, and I'm talking to people all the time, because I'm currently based at home, as you know, at present. So I am talking to a lot of retailers. We do hear that a lot of them are selling diamonds very well, coloured stones, fine jewellery. we do know that many of them are still selling their Swiss watches very well. And I always take a deep breath, because we do work with such a wide variety of retailers, from those that are stockists of Rolex and Patek and Cartier and lovely fine brands like that, across to very traditional businesses that have bespoke workshops, mom and pop shops as they call them, that are the core of a market town or a large village, you know, where their customers were flying through the doors for the batteries and the watch straps and all those sorts of things when they first opened. So we do have a wide remit of retailers, and I'm kind of waiting for them to say, and we're not going to be buying from you, Judith, but they say, Ti Sento's different. Oh no, we want Ti Sento. No, we know we can sell that. We know we can sell that. We want that. And we, again, the B2B system that I referred to before, where we have repairs, I see every order coming through. And I've even been known to drop a note to a customer to thank them for the order, because, you know, whether it's a special order or a replenishment order is important, but so is a special order. We're seeing lots of little and often. People are buying all the time. They're selling all the time. They're replenishing all the time. So I can only speak for our customers, for our retailers. They've certainly got customers coming through the door. Their staff seem to be engaged in selling our product. It's a fantastic price point. And I think we're probably going to finish up doing what we did last year, which I think if we do will be pretty amazing. That certainly wasn't the plan for this year, I can tell you. We were looking for big growth.
Yeah, I'm sure. But anything above flat from last year would be an incredible performance. That's for sure.
I think that's where we're going to finish up. I'm going to hang my hat and say that.
Wow, that'd be great. And other types of retailer you're working with changing? I mean, you know, department stores, for example, are closing all over the country. Independents are finding it tough. The multiples, most of the major multiples seem to be doing a little bit better. And then of course there's this massive shift to e-commerce over lockdown, and whether that's going to continue to be as strong or even stronger in the future. What are you seeing in terms of how things are shifting around?
Again, I think whether we're a little bit unique or not, we tend not to work in large cities. For whatever reason, large cities are very difficult. I think they're dominated a bit more by many of the multiple groups, and currently we're not working with the multiples. You know, we have done in the past, but so far we're not. You know, we tend to be smaller market towns. We're not in so many shopping centres either. So I think footfall is going to those towns. People are comfortable to go and visit their local jeweller. And I think that's great, again, coming back to the point about relationships. We work with a variety of different types of businesses. We do work with Phoenix Department Store as an example. And I was on a Zoom call a couple of weeks ago with the buyer there, and everything's looking good there. It's looking strong. You know, I follow many companies on Companies House, so, you know, I kind of keep an eye on what's going on. It's one of my hobbies. Yeah. Some people collect stamps. I follow companies on Companies House.
Yeah, me too.
Which I think is important. We also work with a couple of garden centres. And again, during lockdown, both my colleague Angela and I, in order to try and get information and to find out what was happening in the world, we joined all kinds of Zoom and webinar calls. You know, there was one Sunday I was doing one that was joined up with Hong Kong and Dubai and Thailand, and that was very much about manufacturing and supply chain and what was happening with the world of diamonds and metals. We joined also the Giftware Association. They ran a series of webinars every Thursday during lockdown. And it was really interesting to hear what the giftware world was doing and how they were going about it. And what we know is the giftware industry has a real appetite to buy product and to buy stock, because obviously Christmas and key selling times, it's vital that these guys have that. And they took lots of different approaches about how they were going to help their retailers get back to trading and open up opportunities to make sure they could buy and see product. because if you've ever done a gift fair, somebody who's selling handbags, for example, can't just rock up and bring them out the boot of the car. They've got 700 handbags, and it takes a large amount of space to show that. We also joined a garden centre webinar. It was 2 weeks after the English garden centres had gone back. And there was 4 guys on it, and somebody very much like yourself who was facilitating that particular call. And it could have been any 4 major British independent retailers sitting there. And it was really interesting. Everyone agreed that prior to lockdown, they didn't need a website. Each one now agreed that, God forbid, there is a second spike or something before Christmas or whenever it is, they need a website, a transactional website. They also agreed that it's impossible to have everything on it, not to be fearful. They said, how on earth are we going to sell a 3-metre marble obelisk and deliver it from Warwickshire to Aberdeenshire? That's just, let's not even put it on the website. Let's put on things that make sense. And they're not saying that they're wanting to sell just online. They're just seeing it very much going hand in hand. So I think to your point about websites, again, we have a document, and we used this document very strongly during lockdown and really tidied it up to actually check which retailer that we worked with had a Facebook page, a Twitter account, Instagram, whatever social media they had. Did they have a website? Was it transactional? Was it up to date? Was our product on it? Was it featured? Were they actually selling? And again, because we appreciate and understand why many retailers went into lockdown and into furlough, even the fantastic retailers who had very, very good websites had a sign up saying they were shut and they wouldn't be going to their store to send product out. But we saw lots of others that did open and were still shipping. And during lockdown, we shipped every single day, and we shipped to retailers' home addresses, and we shipped packaging to them to make sure life was as easy as possible for them, to make sure that they had business.
I mean, it's just because you're so heavily weighted towards those independents in, the CMJ type membership, Shire market towns, that sort of thing. These are the smaller family businesses that have been so slow to get online. And even now, I would have enormous sympathy, trying to find yourself on the first page of a Google search for silver jewellery or something is an utter impossibility. So they do need to become experts in social media and AdWords and so many different skills now to operate in the digital world. But it's without being in that digital world and having some success there, it's almost fatal.
I think actually, in truth, it's probably better. I think a lot of people are more further forward than we imagine. If you had the time or the inclination, to go through, you would actually see that a lot of retailers have worked really hard prior, not even knowing that they were going to need their website moving forward, as they may well do should something else happen. We work really hard. We have all the assets, everything that a retailer could need, all the coding, all the images. Quite often I'm sending it direct to the guy or the girl or the company who's building the website. We also work with Clarity, Branson, Pursuit, all of these people to make sure that they've got up-to-date imagery. In fact, we just went live today. The embargo was lifted today for all new products. We launch Autumn Winter 20 today. Yeah. So one of the jobs I have this week, along with the other 100 I've got also, is to get all of that out so these guys can get it out to their retailers and they can put it on their websites. They can do with it as they wish. I think we have this notion, which is true, that we are a touchy-feely industry. It's about people, it's about relationships, it's about trust, it's about trying on, it's about seeing a product, it's about seeing the colour, seeing if it fits. But I was sitting in bed the other night and I was trying on Estee Lauder lipsticks. I mean, you might have thought I looked like a nitwit doing it, but I could sit in bed and literally try on all the colours. People have to try different ways to retail and to make the sale. I mean, I recently sent to you a virtual reality headset because and I've got them all stacked up behind. These are all waiting to go out. I've got some coming back, and these are all going out tomorrow, because Ti Sento realised that different parts of the world are in different stages of being open or not. So they kind of came at it from the assumption that maybe we might not be able to visit our customers. I mean, touch wood, at the moment we can do in most places, and we monitor that. But the VR headset is a method of teasing a customer, a retail customer. They can see in 360-degree 3D virtual reality our designer, creative designer Lillian, who talks about the collection. And one of the problems we sometimes have is when we go to see people, they're so excited to see the new product. They don't care whether it's red, green, purple, yellow, blue. And we don't have all those colours, by the way. Those are not necessarily the seasonal colours, as you know. They're so excited to see the product. And it does actually help to have that little bit of understanding. And in sending out the VR headset prior to a visit, or if somebody is buying a little later, or whatever their reason is, or they're just dead excited to see it, we can send this out. It does come with some limitations, as we know, that VR headsets, in terms of high definition, the detail is not perfect. So in some cases, when we're actually showing the product and Lillian's walking around in the set that we've got, and you can look all the way around by wearing the headset, there's a screen to the right, so you do see everything in a little bit more detail. You see our movie, you see the story, you see the thinking behind it, and you see the lady Lillian who's the brains and the design behind it all. And we've had a brilliant reaction to it.
I thought it was pretty neat. So and definitely something different. And if nothing else, it's going to make you remember Ti Sento as a brand, because it's all over the box and and all over the story. But I guess we'll end. You mentioned with the new collections just coming out, the embargo's lifted today. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about the themes behind that, and tell me what the newness is going to be about for this quarter.
So they've called the new collection "The Future is in Your Hands," and again, it comes back to tone. I think when I first heard that, I wasn't sure if that was a working title or if that really was the name of the collection, and it is. The future is in our hands, or in your hands. And because the company didn't really have all the details of all the sellout of spring summer, we weren't able to reach every customer and present the product and sell it in. Any company, and we're no different to anybody else, would be having products still sitting in the warehouse, plus new product would be in production. I mean, we've already put spring summer next year to bed, and they're probably working already on autumn winter, and they decided, right, let's go for this. They brought out 152 new pieces, which is colossal. And we've brought out some really bold pieces. We've got pieces that I don't believe anybody else is currently manufacturing and producing these pieces. Fantastic gold, weighty, 18-karat yellow gold plated chain and necklaces with fantastic clasps and fasteners. Beautiful pave detail. We've got new price points. We're tipping £800 for some of the necklaces, and bracelets as well. We've also got a new collar, which is incredibly bold. We brought out snakes a few years ago. People have done snakes before. We've had them in the 70s. And this whole collection is very much an opulent nod to the 70s. It's a vintage look. And we've added malachite.
Right.
Love malachite. I love malachite from my Cartier days, so I'm so thrilled to see malachite back. I have to say it is Ti Sento malachite, so it is a man-made product. We're not taking from nature, it is man-made. The malachite is beautiful and it gives us consistency. So we have the most fantastic snake collar, which is retailing at £1,249. It's meant to be limited edition. My biggest concern is that we're going to have more customers wanting to buy it than we have stock. I mean, that is going to be the most fantastic.
Great problem to have.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the whole message about the collection is about reaching for the stars, having hope, but actually keeping your feet firmly on the ground. Yes, we have these top-end pieces, as I would say, and again, we've had a great reaction to those. People are just blown away. You can't get these. You'd have to spend an awful lot of money in fine jewellery to get these pieces with some of the lovely companies that are out there, probably some of the Italian companies. But the weight, the design, the quality is just absolutely spectacular. But along with that, we've got all of our core basic pieces in all the new fashion pieces as well.
That sounds fantastic. Can't wait to see them in person. So and how are you doing? I know all your friends in the industry will want to know. Are you on the mend?
Yeah, well, the message of the story is don't go running at 6 o'clock in the morning and do 4 miles and then get terrible stomach pains and carted off to A&E, have a load of tests and have your plumbing removed a week later. Anyhow, that's probably too much for the video. I'm actually doing really well. I've discovered that I'm not a patient, and I'm ashamed of that. I've discovered that I have a fantastic other half. My best pal, Val, who I go to the football with, who everybody knows from Instagram, and my sister, Alison. I've come to rely very much on Angela, who works in the business, and I've also brought in another lady, Micheline, who's come to work for the next 8 weeks, who's jumped in to help. I've got some great friends in the industry, and it got to the stage where I wanted to say, stop sending me flowers and start sending me vases, because I haven't enough vases to put the flowers out. And I have just taken down the get well cards. Goodness knows how many I had. People are incredible, and I'm very lucky to work in this industry. It's an industry I think we both love, Rob. We love it for many reasons, and from time to time we may have our frustrations, but it's like family. You have that because you love it and you have a passion for it. But touch wood, I'm all good. I'm heading in the right direction, and it's amazing what a bit of blusher and lipstick does. So thank you for having me. Thank you.
Oh, it's been brilliant catching up with you, Judith, and wish you a full recovery very soon, and I hope to see you again very soon.
Thanks, Rob. We appreciate it. Thanks for having me on Professional Jeweller.
All right, thanks, Judith.
Thank you. Bye-bye.